More of your phone calls coming up. Chris Fowler was on the call for last night's Fiesta Bowl between Miami and Ole Miss, and he'll be there for the national title game on Monday. That'll be at 7:30 Eastern on the mothership, and then he heads down under for the Australian Open on ESPN networks. You kind of go into a game with all the different scenarios, like this could happen or what if this happens. How often are you surprised in a game?
Pretty often, because college football, Dan, as you know, is often messy. It's not neat, tidy. It's controversial. It's noisy. It's beautiful. And we had all of that in that game last night. I mean, if you think about the small moments, I've been reliving sort of the end of the game situation because that was the most dramatic and memorable, but all the little moments that get you there. Ole Miss, Lucas Carnero is a great kicker, hits the left upright twice, doinks it twice on consecutive field goals. One stays out, one goes in because it's this far to the right. Miami dropped about 4 interceptions, but guys kept making amazing plays. And, you know, I hate to say this because it's a cliche, but you really did hate to see Trinidad Chambliss and Ole Miss, that group of guys that have been through so much, walk off defeated yesterday. Only one team could survive, and Miami deserved it. But man, it was. I didn't expect a lot of things I saw last night. That's for sure. Carson Beck running the ball in for a touchdown was not on my bingo card for that end of game situation.
Okay, the non-call with that final play. Your thoughts on now? And I'll preface this by saying I always look at how the game is going to get called. Is, you know, they calling everything, or are they letting them, play? And they were calling a lot, and that's why I was a little bit surprised that they didn't call something on that play.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. I mean, the reason why it's tough to know what's going to happen in these games is because they're officiated by different conferences. It was the Big Ten last night. You can't have a team involved in the game and then have that conference official. So it's frequently guys who don't see those teams all year. And they call pass interference very differently in different leagues. I had a conversation with the officials on the field about that pregame. They don't always agree with me. They like to think there's a national standard. I think it's called differently. Miami didn't have a single penalty against them in the Ohio State win. Last night, they had a lot of costly penalties, a lot of mental mistakes, and Ole Miss had less. But at the end of it, maybe it wasn't a true Hail Mary heave, where it's 6 guys in a pile jumping up and down, and that almost never gets called. As you know, you have to tackle somebody and step on their neck in the NFL to get a call like that and a Hail Mary at the end of the game. This wasn't really that, but at the end of the day, mutual combat is what Bill Lamagna, our rules expert in the booth, we had to defer to him. He called it that, and there was pushing and shoving on both sides. If it's a normal middle of the game situation in the end zone, they probably get a defensive pass interference call. But we can't complain when the officials step in and intervene if we don't understand they're going to call things differently in different situations at the end of the game, right? Don't we kind of want that? Don't you want to let them play in the NBA? You want a ticky-tack foul call or something decided at the free throw line? I don't.
But it's an advantage for the defense then if they know you're not going to call this. And it was kind of an intermediate Mary, not a Hail Mary. And so because of that, and you're right, Hail Mary, they're not going to call anything. This, to me, you could have called that. And it's not a spot foul, so it's only 15 yards.
Right.
It doesn't decide the game. But given that moment and the way they had called the game, I thought maybe they could have called holding on the left tackle on Carson Beck's touchdown run.
You could have called a lot of holding last night. I think when you have the attitude in your mind that the CFP officials are going to let them play, which we hear a lot, and they have, I think, throughout this bracket for the most part, let teams play because they know that 22 million don't tune in to watch a holding call. But you're right. I mean, you have to sort of officiate the game with consistency and your best judgment. What Lamagna said though was mutual combat. That's how the officials view it. Yes, there was jersey grabbing. Yes, the receiver Shivling was grabbed there, but he also was pushing off with the arm to create space before that. I mean, you can make a case that they've thrown a flag. You know the history. If Miami had been called for pass interference, the last play of the game of the Fiesta Bowl, I was on the field at Sun Devil Stadium. I was there. Maybe you were too.
Yeah, I was.
and Miami's never won a Fiesta Bowl. They've had their heart broken there. If they had thrown a flag on Miami in that situation with historical context, and Ole Miss had won the game, I don't know. You could write a movie about whoever wins the game on Monday night's going to be a great movie. It was a movie about Ole Miss's season anyway. That would have been another movie on Miami's futility in the Fiesta Bowl if they'd thrown a flag there.
Mutual Combat sounds like a Liam Neeson movie. Steven Seagal in Mutual Contact.
Yeah, I mean, he called it Mutual Combat.
Combat.
I said, I get what you're saying because they are hand fighting and pushing and shoving. I just want to back up for a second. I'm in Atlanta. I got in at 4 o'clock. I'm just trying to be professional with you here and get the voice right. So I'll pull back the curtain. I have this honey from New Zealand. I have this gel from China, which is an herbal thing. I have lozenges, and I have this device here. I'm not vaping, I assure you, but this is something that you take a hit on to get your voice back. It's called a vocal mist thing that singers use. And I've got my iPad sitting on my wheelie bag, which is on a small table, and the iPad's leaning against a trash can. I'm just doing my best here to function at this hour, Dan, for you.
So are there concerns the voice might not be ready for Monday night?
There are no concerns about that.
You're not a game-time decision, are you?
No, I mean, Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy are calling the game. I'm just here in Atlanta to watch from the field and prepare for the championship. I'll be ready. Don't worry about it.
Are you the understudy in case something happens to Sean McDonough?
I hope not. Nothing's going to happen to Sean McDonough except he'll call a great game.
The Indiana story, and, growing up in Ohio, we were aware of Indiana because they were always the team that was usually had zero. It was like 56 to nothing or whatever. Losing his team in NCAA history with football. And then they do this in 2 years, this turnaround. And you're trying to tell people, like, you think the Hoosiers movie is, great. This, to me, trumps that because, who would have thought Indiana would have a Heisman Trophy winner, be the number one team, be favored to win the national championship? Any of the above.
It's the greatest turnaround I've seen in this sport. You can make comparisons to other sports. It's not supposed to happen in college football. It never has historically. Now with the portal and NIL, you can make it happen pretty quickly. But even given that, what Cignetti has done is astounding to me. I mean, it happened last year when they make the playoff and take another level up to be as dominant as they were in the Rose Bowl. The roster is not built with 4 and 5 stars. It's a very different roster construction than the other 3 teams in the semifinals and most of the other teams in the playoff. But he is a brilliant evaluator of talent. That's what you have to have. A lot of guys can go to the portal and spend money. They spent it beautifully, and they had a great eye for talent. And he brought a bunch of key guys from James Madison with him who were the core of the team, and he went out and got Mendoza. So he made some great choices, but I don't know if this is going to happen again in the future either. I think it's, you can win quickly with the modern reality, but still to do what I don't want to put it, no, they got the portal. No, you have to make a million smart choices to do what they've done.
SEC did not do well in the playoffs, 1-8.
Or the bowls, for that matter.
Is this an anomaly?
Well, I mean, it's the 3rd straight year that a SEC team is not going to play in the championship game. And the Big Ten would now be favored at this point to win 3 in a row. So, yeah, the Big Ten can say that the championship runs through that conference. The Big Ten also did well head-to-head in the bowls against the SEC. But if you view where the SEC is and where it's going, all is not doom and gloom. I think that, at the bottom of the conference, the bottom half of it, 9 through 16, it's still much stronger than the Big Ten. So running the gauntlet in the SEC is still the most challenging thing to do in this sport. The Big Ten at the top is where the power lies. Now, the SEC used to have great top-heavy power and also depth. They don't have that anymore at the top. You've got 3 elite teams out of the Big Ten, and Ohio State got knocked out, and 2 of them are playing here in Atlanta tonight. But I don't think the SEC is going to fade away. They have too much money and too much passion and too much invested in the sport already. But it makes it interesting. I like the fact that there's balance in the sport. I like the fact that a 10 seed in Miami, which many people out there thought, and I know you're watching out there, didn't belong in. Look where they are. Now they won 3 tough games, and they're going to play for a championship.
I wonder, though, that, with college football playoffs maybe going to 16 next year. The Big Ten and SEC are saying we need to have X number of teams. I don't know if this hurts their argument of saying we should get X number. We should have 5 teams in, and the Big Ten has 5 teams or 4 teams because of what's happened this year.
I don't love the idea of expanding and then including 4 automatic bids to the Big Ten and the SEC. That's the plan of Tony Petitti, Big Ten commissioner. And, maybe more conferences like, the ACC might like to go along with that too. They like to have more teams in. I kind of like the structure where it is now. I think the tweak you can make is, tougher restrictions on group of 5 teams. It was, James Madison was a great story, but that was never going to be a competitive game. So you've got 11 playoff games in this format, and 2 involved complete mismatches. And I think people would have liked to see Notre Dame or Texas or Vanderbilt or somebody else in those games. But then you're now excluding entire conferences from having any chance to get in the bracket.
Can college football be fixed is a strong word, but it just feels like there are things that make sense that college football should be doing. Simple guardrails here of starting the season, maybe ending the season on New Year's Day. Maybe that'll take away the coaches leaving, maybe players leaving, transfer portal. I mean, it feels like college football, and I said this yesterday, they're waiting for Congress to clean up their mess. That's not good.
No, it's not. I mean, or they're waiting for a new sheriff to ride into town because we are in the Wild West and there's no rules and it's chaos. If people really knew what was going on behind the scenes, I mean, I'll tell you some anecdotes. There's a long snapper out there from a prominent school, a long snapper who's just minding his own business, very happy where he is, not in the transfer portal at all. 27 phone calls to a long snapper these are major teams that are trying to get this guy, offering him money. He's, I'm happy where I am. I'm not in the portal. I know, but what's your number? But I'm not in the portal. What's your number? What's a long snapper's number? Is where we are. And that's going on. You got kickers and punters. I think the SEC, half the conference got a new kicker yesterday. And that's where we are, man. And it's in a way, you just want the system to do right by the players, but to have 4,000 guys in the portal, the vast majority will not land someplace and play as a starter and win a championship. That's the 1% maybe.
I did bring this up yesterday as well. When's the last time a player was academically ineligible? Because growing up, it happened all the time. I've never heard of anybody.
It did happen, and they also got away with murder a lot of them back in that day. There were dudes with 0.0s who played football. The Blutarski grade point average. I mean, not that's not what we want. I mean, there's a lot of great examples about what's right in the sport, about great students who are doing a lot of the right things. But I don't know. That's a good question. I don't see that anymore. Geez, he was going to play in the playoff, but he didn't pass that final, and he's going to have to sit out. And that seems kind of quaint these days, doesn't it?
Most successful college coaches try the NFL. I mean, some of the biggest names, in college football history, Saban, Spurrier. Can you see Cignetti trying the NFL?
I think he wins wherever he goes, right? We know that. I think there'd be a lot of teams intrigued. He seems to love college football. He would not have stayed at a lower division for as long as he did. Whether it's, even before James Madison, he was in small college football and loved being a teacher. And that's okay. I think they're always intrigued because you wonder how would your system work at the highest level of football. But I wouldn't rule it out. People in college have been trying to hire this guy. He signed an extension, a big contract, and they're still coming after him for trying to say, forget the contract. What does that mean these days?
Yeah, I know Penn State was interested. There are a few of them. And Mike Tannenbaum brought it up earlier in the week that could you see a package deal with Mendoza and Cignetti to the Raiders? And at first I said, no way. But then he makes more money than he would make in the NFL, Chris. He's going to be the highest paid coach in college football.
I wasn't sure if he meant Mendoza or Cignetti there.
Yeah. I don't know what Mendoza makes, but
he's not making NFL top pick money. No, for sure. I mean, it's interesting. I have a feel for these guys, and I really wish them success on Sundays. And I sit there looking at the Raiders or the Jets, or it's like, wow. I mean, to go from where he's gone in Indiana, structure, order, brilliant organization, togetherness, chemistry, love your brother, to go to an NFL locker room like that, where you got problems. If you're drafting first and you do it again and again, you got problems. And for Fernando to walk in there, knowing how these guys are, he loves order and organization and things to be neat and tidy. He's very unique personality. I think that for him to survive and thrive in the chaos of an NFL doormat locker room is seriously challenging. The fit is so important, Dan. I mean, we got, finally Bryce Young's in the playoff, right, in Carolina. It took a few years. It took the NFC South to get him there. But look what he had to go through the first couple of years. Just the chaos, the revolving door of management and coaches and different offensive systems and getting knocked around. I mean, that's the reality for most top picks. Caleb Williams landed in a good place, and he also endured some tough times, and now he's going to take his team. And Cam Ward, I hope he can get there too. But, Fernando, to the Raiders, man, to the Jets. Good luck, man.
All right. Rest the voice, though. You got to get ready. All right. All right. Get a lift in.
My device.
You've got, I've never used one of those.
It's very legal. It's just saline. It's just saline solution here, vaporized.
Somebody's going to make a meme out of that, Chris. Just letting you know.
Thanks, Dan.
You're vaping on my show here. Thanks again.
Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
See you, buddy. Great job. Chris Fowler. He was on the call for the Fiesta Bowl, and he's got the national championship on Monday.